Welcome back to our RAG Masterclass series. I'm thrilled to have you here for the second explainer in our series. In our first one, we mapped out the high-level concept of retrieval-augmented generation. But today we're going deep into the actual retrieval foundation. We're going to visualize the abstract geometry of vector embeddings. For all you data scientists and AI engineers listening, our goal today is to make the heavy math behind meaning feel incredibly intuitive. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the keyword search problem, move into dense vectors and semantic search, tackle cosine similarity, explore multimodal spaces, look at GraphRAG, and finally, wrap up with evaluating retrieval using RAGS. Let's dive in. Section 1. The keyword search problem. So why do we even need embeddings in the first place? Let's look at a really vivid failure of traditional retrieval. Imagine a user queries your enterprise database for affordable accommodation, but your documents only use the phrase budget hotels. A legacy keyword search is going to return exactly 0 results. Literally 0. This brilliantly illustrates the fatal flaw with traditional search. It relies entirely on exact lexical matches. It is completely blind to the actual intent behind a semantically perfect query. You can really see the stark contrast here. Keyword search uses what we call sparse vectors. Just imagine an array that is as long as the entire English dictionary, filled with mostly zeros, except for a single one where a specific word exists. It's rigid. It's brittle. To fix this, we have to move away from those sparse, zero-filled vectors and start using dense vectors. Dense vectors don't just log that a word exists, they actually encode the deeper meaning and context of the text. Section 2. Dense vectors and semantic search. Okay, so what exactly is a dense vector embedding? Think of it as a literal coordinate of meaning. Let's build this intuition up. Imagine a simple 2D graph. The word cat is plotted at the coordinate 1, 2, and the word dog is right next to it at 1.1, 2.1. Because they're conceptually related, they cluster together. Now, take that 2D plot and scale it up to hundreds or even thousands of dimensions. In this high-dimensional space, meaning is encoded as a geometric structure. And this isn't just a neat party trick. If you take the vector for king, subtract the vector for man, and add the vector for woman, you land almost exactly on the coordinates for queen. That absolutely proves that these lists of numbers are actually capturing human conceptual logic. And here's the crazy part. These semantic clusters for animals, countries, professions, or even emotional sentiment, they form naturally without being explicitly programmed. Now, for a robust RAG system, word embeddings aren't enough. We need sentence-level embeddings. Models like SentenceBERT or SBERT use bi-encoder architecture to map entire sentences or chunks of text into this exact geometric space. When you're choosing your model, you'll want to look at the MTB, the Massive Text Embedding Benchmark. It helps you weigh the trade-offs between API-based models like OpenAI's AutoDeal02 and self-hosted open-source models, letting you balance sheer speed against retrieval quality based on your constraints. Section 3. Cosine similarity and relevance. So, we have these coordinates, but how does the system actually calculate relevance? How does it know which vectors are closest? Enter cosine similarity. When we query this high-dimensional space, we aren't measuring the physical distance between points, we're measuring the angle between their vectors. A smaller angle means higher semantic relevance. Let's walk through a worked example. Your query vector is plotted in space. You've got document A sitting at a 10-degree angle, document B at 45 degrees, and document C way out at 90 degrees. The system computes these cosine scores, ranks them, and grabs the top k nearest neighbors. In this case, document A is the obvious winner, pulling the most conceptually relevant data instantly. And we can optimize this math to make it incredibly fast by swapping exact k-nearest neighbors for approximate nearest neighbor, or ANN searches. And utilizing efficient dot products, the efficiency skyrockets. Just to put that into perspective, in enterprise CRM setups, an edge-first RAG architecture using these optimizations can maintain a stable retrieval latency of around 1.22 seconds. It's blisteringly fast and completely immune to the network bottlenecks that usually drag down cloud-dependent setups. Section 4. Multimodal shared semantic spaces. But wait, what happens when our documents aren't just text? What if you're parsing complex financial reports loaded with crucial visual charts, graphs, and diagrams? Traditional multimodal RAG relies on a pretty clunky workaround. It uses an LLM to summarize an image into text and then embeds that text. But you lose so much visual detail, spatial context, and numerical precision doing that. Cutting-edge vision language models like GINA v4 or CLIP completely bypass this. They map both images and text natively right into our established geometric space. This means you can query an image using text directly based on shared meaning, no translation required.
For you data scientists out there measuring performance, the results are just stunning. Look at this benchmark from financial earnings calls. Storing images natively in the vector space yielded massive absolute improvements. We're talking a 13% bump in mean average precision and an 11% increase in ranking quality, or NDCG. Preserving that visual context natively translates directly to vastly superior retrieval accuracy. It's a real game changer.
Section 5. Capturing relationships with GraphRAG. But even with amazing multimodal embeddings, flat, dense vectors can still hit a wall. They really struggle when you ask about complex, interconnected relational knowledge. For instance, if you ask a system, how did Monet influence Picasso? Traditional RAG might just retrieve isolated chunks of text about Monet and other chunks about Picasso. It completely misses the actual influence relationship between them. GraphRAG, however, retrieves precise, structured connections, pulling the exact pathways that link those concepts together.
By pulling interconnected subgraphs, paths, and triplets, which are just simple subject-predicate-object relationships, we capture the broader context that semantic similarity alone just can't handle. GraphRAG also beautifully mitigates the dreaded lost-in-the-middle problem. It does this by feeding the LLM abstracted, high-signal structured data instead of overwhelming it with a massive, noisy wall of text.
So how does the LLM actually process this? Well, LLMs need data formatted in a way they can digest. So the retrieved subgraphs are seamlessly translated into syntax trees, adjacency tables, or even code-like formats. This structured presentation allows the LLM to traverse the data logically and generate a response that's enriched with deep, multi-hop reasoning. Section 6. Evaluating retrieval with RAGs. Finally, we have to hold our systems accountable, right? How do we mathematically prove that our new high-dimensional geometry is actually retrieving the correct information? The RAGOS evaluation framework is absolutely essential here. To calculate answer relevance, it uses a brilliant three-step pipeline. First, it takes the final generated answer and reverse engineers a list of potential questions. Then, it embeds those generated questions and calculates the cosine similarity against the user's original prompt. It's literally proving geometrically that your system's output directly aligns with the initial query. RAGOS also checks for context relevance. It extracts only the absolutely essential sentences from your retrieved chunks, mathematically penalizing any redundant information it finds. This ensures our vector retrieval isn't just accurate, but razor-sharp and concise, completely avoiding the bloated verbosity that plagues poorly tuned systems. So look at what we've built today. We've walked through the entire retrieval foundation pipeline. We took raw text, passed it through a tokenizer, ran it through an encoder like SBERT, applied pooling, and boom, we transformed human meaning into a dense vector coordinate. But that leaves us with a massive provocative question. Now that we have millions of these high-dimensional mathematical coordinates, how on earth do we efficiently store and query them at scale? Well, that is exactly what we will unpack in our next explainer when we explore the fascinating architecture of vector databases. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you there.